call it realization, they've called it ego death, they called all kinds of different things. People talk about realizing what non-duality is, and they have a negative image or something. I'm like, I must imagine that you've actually just conceptualized this knowledge and that you haven't had actual authentic realization. Because if you had authentic realization, you embodied the energy fully, you would not be able to have these kinds of logics happening within your life. I mean, it's obvious that what you're saying is completely out of the realms of the other thing in which you said when you decided to describe everything as oneness and then you decided there was two-ness. I'm like, well, I mean, here we are saying that everything's oneness, and now we're saying that there's two-ness, or multipleness, or somethingness that's in a dualistic focus of attack and defense, and well, I know that it's impossible. So, if you're saying that you know that it's impossible, and then you're talking about it being possible, I don't think that you actually know that it's impossible. I think that you've agreed and you theorized of the impossibility of it, and that you think that it sounds nice, that everything's love, or everything's this, or everything's that, and you've decided that it resonates with your heart in a manner where you're willing to agree, but you don't actually agree, you don't actually believe in it, because you cannot. You cannot know something that you don't know. And maybe there is a part of you that does know, but you haven't attached to it or got to it or been able to embody it, and there's all kinds of reasons as to why that is. In Buddhism, it is said simply, in a way, to me, the way that I've interpreted, selfishness, really, arrogance, or whatever it is, and really just a lack of divine timing really being necessary. The common conditions have not been possible for somebody to go towards that kind of realm of realization. But if you ever do reach the realization, it's very simple that you have matched the intention of the Bodhisattva. And if you have matched the intention of the Bodhisattva, then you have found yourself in the place in the body of true realization. It is very easy. All it does is take the matching of this intention to cause the lotus to bloom on its own. The lotus is the heart. Well, the blooming is it coming into the full folding out into the knowing of its enlightenment and how it's always been enlightened. So it's amazing amount of full realization. And this only happens when the intention of the bodhisattva is matched, and that's all that is needed. Practice is not needed. Meditation is not needed. The matching of an intention is simply what is needed. And so if you can somehow match the intention, it does not mean that you embody the frequency. No, you're intending to do something. You're intending. And the intention is for the benefit of all beings everywhere without one exception. The bodhisattva, amazing thing, has decided that he will be, or she will be, it will be, they will be, however it is we wish to say these things in a way that is of greatest respect and honoring to all individual possible egos to be watching, to possibly soften the blow of their crazy mind. I also see no reason to do this, obviously, as we've talked about an ego as the conglomeration or the identity of a thing that be purely illusory, so no reason to even give any kind of heed to such a thing. I mean, whatever it is, no reason to enable it like it's real or something. Oh, you're acting as if you're not enlightened mind. Okay, whatever, obviously you're the Buddha, so who needs to talk to you about anything? Otherwise, you can come up to me and tell me you're Joe Blow over there with this and that and the other, but I know your limitless consciousness existing in the greatest form of perfection with everything, the greatest emptiness to ever be existing. Here you are, exuding the perfect frequency in every moment you happen to be in. I don't know why I would do anything but remind you of that whenever you try to act like you're some false character in front of me. Well, these things will have to be seen, You can go in trying to say that to somebody, but if you come from a realm of conceptualization, you'll only be attacking and defending the idea of whatever is happening with this being here in front of you. And authenticity is brewed in an amazing way of non-violence, of non-action, of non-doing, in a way that never creates reverberation in a sense. And I said non-violence originally, but I'm glad that I said it because it was in a way dissonance with what I mean. Because non-violence is repelling, you see. That was an attack and defense style statement, because non-violence is now balanced upon violence. And we could say non-duality is balanced upon duality, but you see, duality is non-existent. Non-violence is also in this way non-existence because of how it's created in duality. And so we can tell that non-violence in this statement is non-existent. There is volatility, there is violence. There is people that are not being violent, that are actually being very violent in their non-violence. And it's the way in which they withhold frequency and they don't give everything authentically, the entirety of their being within every moment that they're in due to some realm of judgment or focus. And this is also a perfection because nobody is an ego that is able to be judged for its doing, because nobody is actually a doer. So plenty of people have come to all kinds of beliefs of the traditions and the wisdoms in which speak these truths so clearly, and still They don't allow themselves to ever find the place inside in which can show this thing consciously, always, all the time, without them ever being able to leave its scene. I don't know, they've become quite comfortable in their positionings of life. They've decided, oh, this spiritual community and these people that build me up to think that my purist mentality is completely right for me. You know, these people, this is great. This is wonderful. Yes, we'll all live here in this beautiful world together. Here we are, sustaining each other's misery. When a teacher comes of dissonance that could cause us agitation for growth, we're going to turn them away and kick them out of our community. We're going to stay in our beautiful, heavenly Goldilocks zone where nothing can ever disturb us into growth. We're going to stay here complacently, creating heaven on earth in our reality, a God realm mentality. And, well, because we've done this, we're never going to be able to grow ever again. Thanks. Thanks for sustaining that frequency for us all. Please never rise yourself into a realm of pure awareness that would help us all grow. Just sustain your own comfortability. And they're actually suffering constantly, working ridiculously, never understanding the effortless flow of the now moment, how they can naturally be in a way that exudes such a powerful frequency that is beneficial for everything. Oh, you want to help the world? No, you're saying you want to help yourself. A lot of selfishness in the world. A lot of people never moved for anybody but themselves. When I was younger, I had wanted to be a pastor in a church, and I thought, how can I sit here with my family, taking care of them, when I should be doing the work of God? Of course, I've moved far away from Christianity now. I mean, not so far as to say I don't see the truth within the culture, and that I don't see truth within all cultures of the world, that I don't think there's an amazing symbology that was spread throughout consciousness to such a major, massive view that it had some kind of amazing relevance to the connection of the tree. But really, I think Christianity brought with it the tree of the Hebrew culture. And so I'm quite disappointed with Christianity for breaking themselves from their roots and not even knowing the wisdoms in which Jesus must have known. I'm like, what the heck? You don't even know what the tree of life is? You don't know the Sephiroth that discuss your energy body and the process to bring you into enlightenment? What was that? Why'd you cut your fucking root off your tree? That's insane. At least he did bring you to the present moment, but you all decided to stick with judgment, even though he said not to judge. Judge not, lest ye be judged, for that which ye judge, so too shall ye be judged. This is the King James Version quote, but don't worry about it. Surely it was spoken differently when translated from the Hebrew, which reminds me of another thing that was brought into the Christian culture, and that was he who prays in the name. But when it comes to the Hebrew tradition and the actual translation of what that meant and from the Hebrew letterings, it said nature. It said, where two are gathered in the name, so shall I be there, or some shit like that. It is a beautiful thing. So I say shit. Try not to be disrespectful to all kinds of things, but we can just speak whatever we want. You know, it turns out that shit's not a bad word, and none of the ways we talk are bad, and we don't have to control ourselves. And the only reason why you have to think before you speak is because you're not allowed to cuss, and you're not allowed to be this, and you're not allowed to be that. You can just let the moment flow. The moment cusses all the time. They say Neem Karoli Baba, one of the most amazing masters in the world, the master of Ram Dass, was one of the most foul-mouthed men in the world. I just learned this the other day, thank God. One of the most foul-mouthed men in the world. They say that the Jawas, or the servants, you know, that were speaking to people about what he had to say were actually saying nicer things, because he was probably saying, like, the worst curse words. Get this fucking bastard out of here, fuck this guy, you know. All kinds of crazy things. Why would somebody speak that way? Well, the moment is full. It doesn't just come at you like a little girly pussy of a man. It doesn't come at you like a little bitch of a woman. No, it comes at you like a raw, authentic, real human being. It comes to you like the moment itself. It comes to you like a lion, like a gazelle, like the lion that can also raise the gazelle because it didn't want to kill the little baby for some reason, but also can still kill a gazelle while raising the baby gazelle to feed the baby gazelle, which is weird. Anyways, crazy. It's fierce and raw and everything that is. Have you looked into the world today? Look into the mirror of your consciousness. If you understand that it's not dual and that you're not separate from anything, just look at what you're doing right now. Go ahead and tell yourself what you're not, and then just look into the world and see what you are. And you're like, oh fuck, I'm that. Now, if you judge yourself for this is going to be really bad. I would recommend releasing all judgment before you do these kinds of things, because there's really nothing that's existing outside of the realm of perfection. Everything is happening within enlightened action. And while you're working on a very slow processing system that was given to you by the world and the algorithmic patterns of your lifestyle, you may not be able to compute this information in a way that makes sense. Now, if you cannot compute this information in a way that makes sense, that makes perfect sense to me personally. If you can, then that also will make perfect sense to me. No matter what it is, it's going to make somehow perfect sense to me because I do just understand that all things are perfect. So no matter what, of course, why not? But there's ways to find this information within ourselves. There's ways in which to seek this information, and you can seek it from a book, but it's not going to help. You can see from me, and it's not going to help. I mean, in some way, it may help if it motivates you to seek from within and find this information within yourself, because this information is within yourself. It is a great pointing. You can find it. It's there within you constantly, all the time. Are we're here still? Oh, absolutely. I love you with all my heart. And yeah, so it's important to know. I love you, darling, with all my heart, with all my soul. You're amazing. Now we must seek within, that the knowledge from others is only a pointing, is only a propelling, is only an agitation and frequency that brings us to a place in which we can find finally and seek within ourselves. Now, the cool thing about seeking within ourselves is there's actually a ridiculous amount of avenues whenever we decide to go into this focus. Not only are we able to do it without medicine ceremony, but it'll be quite difficult, I imagine. I mean, I've seen a lot of people do other routes, and even in Buddhism, and they got some fast routes. But there's really just no faster route than setting the intention that matches that of the Bodhisattva and allowing permission to whatever all that is to come in and write your path to align you with your divine life purpose. It's kind of just the fastest thing I've ever seen. Of course, it is so fast, I will mention, it is quite the dangerous path. I do imagine that once somebody actually is able to bring themselves to the focus of setting such a pure intention out of nowhere, with such an amazing trust in something as the medicine teaches, all of consciousness, all that is, source, God, however it is you're viewing it. I do say, though, if you image this, it is going to be terribly detrimental for you to image this. At that point, all information that is coming through you during these experiences are going to be molded through that template. Now, if your image is quite formless and undefined and quite not known, and kind of just like obviously how it must already be, I mean, actually, if you're being honest with yourself, I mean, it's probable that you don't know anything, that you have a lot of ideas and theories, you have a lot of seemingly well-proven facts, but, you know, any variable could be added to those experiences at any moment to change it. If you understand science in any way, you can see that this is happening constantly in quantum physics, and actually every realm of physics and science, they're constantly having theories proven and disproven and all kinds of things going on. And so it's really just about, you know, that kind of a thing. It's really about just being more of a scientist with your information. And like I said, if you hold on to an image, if you hold on to a template, everything's going to be filtered through that shit. And that's what's happening with a lot of people. They walk around calling themselves the second coming, but they had a fucking dogmatic template. So they probably did have some amazing, you know, realization to see themselves as all that is, or maybe even as Jesus, the beginning and the end or something. But they equated it to themselves and to the Bible and to the book of Revelations and all their fears about it, because they probably didn't actually read the book with like eyes they could see anyway, because it's actually not quite scary. It just talks about, you know, some kind of revealing occurring apparently. But I don't know, maybe I'll have to reread it to see. Maybe there's some scary viewpoints in there. But, you know, take everything you want with a grain of salt. There's a lot of weird, evil people that have been going all kinds of different ways. And I call them evil, but I'm glad that we brought up that word too. There's not any kind of evil actually occurring on the world. You may think that there's demons, but it's all yourself. And so you can go ahead and think, oh, that evil person over there, well, it's a mere reflection of you. And you can go ahead and be like, oh, no, well, now that I know it's a mere reflection of me, I'm the evil person. Oh, kill me now. Why? Oh. Don't worry, you know, that's you. It's a mere reflection of you, but it's only showing you what you're doing, and quite innocently. If we release the judgment, we can see that ignorance is innocence. People can say, oh, there's people that live above the world, and they run the world, and they're wise, and they have the information, and they deserve no forgiveness because they have wisdom, and so they're unforgivable. Well, no. If people have the wisdom, it is illogical to do anything of harm to anything, because now when you pull this leaf from this tree, you pulled a leaf from your own body. You know, you're like, oh, shit, what have I done? You know, you start to really take a great personalness to the whole world, but in a really gorgeous, amazing way. Maybe you take on the blame of it, you take responsibility, you take accountability for all the things that are in dissonance that were uniquely provided for you. But even in this, the agitation created and the curiosity, it brings you to a great point of stability to where you can see that yes, you did all of this to you and for you. You as the heart of all that is, you as this amazing conglomeration of enlightened mind existing as this non-dualistic focus of expression of an emptiness and the most amazing perfect bliss and synchronicity with all beings and all that is, that you're here in every action in every way for everything for the greatest of its liberation, and that this was a completely necessary pathway to travel through in the growth of everything, that we wish for this, and that we are all the greatest of strength and heroes, and that we love our positionings like the man with the Medal of Honor that gave his life for all of his brothers. We are like that kind of a heroic stance for all of ourselves. We love ourselves very greatly in the most unconditional manner possible. So unconditional love for all beings everywhere, the one exception, is the greatest way I can point to the very center frequency that lives within the center of the toroidal field within us all, the center of the heart's field, the center that can see equally in all directions because it is center of everything, and so it can see. And because it can see from the center, it doesn't see from too high or too low. It can tell that, oh, everything is equal. Everything is myself. I can see that there is no greater above and there is no greater below. I can see that the above cannot even live without the below. That these things must exist with each other. And if you understand from the heart perspective, you never look at these things in ways of terrible, evil, judgmental dissonances. Just ways that, energy is blocked or suppressed or clogged or moving in a way of density, but also for a great perfected purpose. So there's no reason to move in emergency or anxiety or trying to cause something to be right in some way. Like, no, you can just be, and that your being somehow amazingly, as you learn yourself, is constantly being in a way of benefit for everything, just all on its own. Start to come into a place where you understand how you move and who you are, and all of these things come through realization. Realization. This can happen again through medicine ceremony. I have to bring this path of medicine ceremony because for me, I had a huge path, and I like to explain that path to show the entirety of the journey, because it was the entirety of the journey that created the person that would have medicine ceremony, that created the daydreamer, the person that wished to escape from reality, the person that wished to leave this world of what was real and awful and go into a place of dream-like imagination, phenomenal, illusory focuses of superpowers and healing and just doing amazing things. Not really a lot of sexual experiences at that time, because those were real world events. I was trying to have out of this world events, But these kinds of things brought me into the realm of psychedelics, brought me into the realm of seeking another reality than this one, and that brought me into what was real eventually, through a great amount of ceremony and a phenomenal amount of journeying and a phenomenal amount of focusing and breaking of focusings and all kinds of different things. And it's really quite simple. It was just a change of perception, but it was also the intention. And so I was beat down by all of life to where at one moment of great disparity, I set an intention that was apparently the right intention. So thank goodness I set a good intention, but it was the only words that were there for me to set. It was great fear, great disparity that caused me very unskillfully to make a skillful action. And I made a very skillful action, but kind of randomly, kind of like accidentally, not really on purpose, kind of feeling wrong for it, and this thing that I actually sung was the thing I wanted in my heart the whole time. At the end of not being able to appease all of the world around me and do nothing for them, finally, just for myself, did I have an intention, and that intention for myself was still true to myself, that I wanted to be good for something. I wanted to be a benefit to all beings. I wanted to be a benefit to something. I wanted to help something. For God's sake, please, anything. Even if it be just one thing. No matter how that means, I have to do it. Whatever that may mean, I surrender myself to that. And, apparently my greatest desire was, to not be just a piece of shit, no good, nothing. To not be a benefit, to have no purpose, to have just be a complete useless cog in the system, a thing that just couldn't get right, I wanted to be of service in some way. I always had, I wanted to know who I was and what was my purpose. I wanted to be in alignment with my divine life purpose, that I could do something, please, for anything. And I knew I couldn't do it on my own, that I had no ability. I had no ability at all. I had not 1 ounce of strength to move towards it in myself. I needed to go to something else. And I had had really powerful experiences with medicine ceremony. I had a really the most spiritual experiences I'd ever experienced, even after the 13 months of the Tibetan Buddhist Retreat Center, 7 months and then 6 months. My months with my friends, Native American teachers, my time walking with God in Christianity, finally ending wanting to be a pastor until I found spirit science and got back into energy movement and flow, and all those times with becoming the master of my subconscious or the master of energy flow during the surrender or the strange trancing out and observation of really amazing things happening, moving through my body, seeing that somehow something has a potential, realizing Tai Chi after watching a movie and finding out that somehow I knew Tai Chi through the download that was brought through the algorithmic pattern of the movie itself. It's really brought me into a modern day focus of life. A lot of people are trying to drag on these old stories of, oh, do it as the Buddha did, or do it as Jesus did, or do it as this guy did, or as this guy's doing it, or be a breatharian, leave the world, oh, don't touch this TV, don't touch this thing. Well, I was very unskillful all my life, so, I touched everything. My path was all using the help of the world. I ate GMOs all the time. I constantly, when I wanted to have medicine ceremony, I wasn't going to go have it with people in a drum circle setting. I was going to have it, with myself, in a very safe, comfortable setting. I was going to block out the lights. I was going to bring, music. I was going to do all kinds of things, but I didn't know any other person's way. I wasn't given that in life. I wasn't given friends and family. I wasn't given people to direct me, And so I just kind of was able to do things the way I wanted to do things. And they were all the right thing. It was amazing. It was phenomenal. Thank goodness. I would try to do something somebody else wanted me to do, and they'd tell me what was right for me. It'd fuck me all up. It'd be terrible. It'd suck. And finally, the only thing I wanted to do was something that nobody would agree with me to do, and that was seek realization through psychedelics. Seek experience, seek God, seek whatever it was, but I had powerful experiences. I mean, insanely powerful experiences. I would tell people about how powerful the experiences were, and they act like it wasn't a big deal or something. I was like, geez, these are amazing, the first time I ever moved energy, I was an amazing energy mover. I moved energy stronger than a Reiki master. I was like, I don't know why, it just was an amazing thing. I was like, so when I was having medicine ceremony, I was having extremely powerful acceleratory experiences, insane powerful, and so for people to be telling me it was right and trying to give me all the other avenues, and finally I would have a medicine ceremony that completely broke me from ever being able to even go back to the world. I was like, I must find answers or I will die. The curiosity was so great, it broke me so, disturbed me so. So when I set that intention in the Sequoia National Forest and rose from my root to my crown that evening after it killed me, it was the only words I had to mumble. And it was only many years later. And I've taken my bodhisattva vows, and I've taken refuge vows in Tibetan Buddhism. They could call me a Rigsal Wampo if I ever went by the name. I go for Ryan Matthew Harris, My given name. I love the name. There's no reason to reject myself in any manner. No reason to be worried about my slave name or my given name, like, oh, my parents, they gave me the wrong name, oh, no, I am not loving of myself. Granted, I do have a great name. My name has great definitions, and they roll together all nice, and so picking between Ryan Matthew Harris and Rick Salbonko, both of them are great names, so might as well just keep the one that I already have. I've already told everybody about it, why change it? And then I saw it maybe as like a great fear that's made me like, oh, maybe I should change it back, like, or not that I ever had changed it really, but maybe I should go by that name now. It just seems unnecessary really, but I do take both names as my name, so it's an interesting thing when I pray to Tankasala or my grandfather, my grandmothers, to the Great Spirit Wankantanka and to Unchimaka. I always start the prayer the same way my brother taught me, and I say, hello, Tankasala grandfather, it's your grandson, Rigsal Wampo Ryan Harris. I always pray this way when I pray. If I pray, I pray when I feel like praying. I don't pray because I have to pray. I used to pray an awful lot. I used to set intention between every meal, everything. I would drink water. I would always, every possible thing. And I'm not saying not to do this, but I've come to a point where I've risen bodhicitta in myself. And so I no longer need to do this because every one of my emotions, every one of my actions are constantly in alignment with this. And I think that that's always how it is. but that these prayers and these intentions bring us into our worthiness to show us this, to show us that what we're doing is a redundant pattern, that we're doing something that's already consciously occurring no matter what we try to do. It cannot not happen. And it's a beautiful thing. This is like a big practice in a realm that would be brought to me through my direct experience, but would be very reflective of Tibetan Buddhism, Dzogchen practice, a practice of the great perfection, realizing the great perfection, a practice of seeing all things to be enlightened action. Now, this is outlawed in other countries because this is a very dangerous place. If somebody does this, if on a certain level of focus, they believe, they just go do anything and kill anybody and do anything, fuck anybody, rape anybody, do whatever they want, break any crime. It's all enlightened action. Why do they need to worry about it anymore? And I have felt like this tension point was existing within people that I've been talking to before. They're like, oh, well, I don't know, I just punch you right now or something like that. And I would tell them, well, I guess that if you did that, I would have to see that as complete perfection and and for my highest benefit no matter what. And so I have to imagine that if anybody watches this and does anything crazy, that it's somehow for consciousness's highest benefit. And then it makes me think maybe I should put a disclaimer on the video to say, hey, I'm not giving you permission to break the law now. Do whatever you wish. But this is not anything you can say, hey, Ryan did this. But me, myself, I obey the law. And so, yes, you have the ability to do anything you wish. It is all enlightened action. But you will find that there are consequences to your actions due to reasons in why doing things. If you can find yourself in really the wisdom of non-action, in a spontaneous motion doing anything, you'll probably find yourself impervious to karma. And so you'll be completely free from it, quite invincible to any kind of realm of karmic backlash. But there's all kinds of modes and motions that will bring you into this. You could go ahead and conceptualize and say, hey, I'm there right now, and then go out and speak your honesty to the world and get punched in the face by something. You go out and kill something and be like, it's enlightened action. Oh yeah, but you also going to prison for the rest of your life afterwards. That was also enlightened action. Good job. And also, you gaining the karmic backlash for doing such a thing is also going to